I'm Jan from Eat, Think, Move, and we've got a fantastic interview series for you today. So if you're interested in running and you want to start to incorporate that into your well-being pattern and rhythm, this is going to answer all your questions. So I'd like to introduce Lynn Watson. So Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll get into the Q&As.
Okay. Well, I've worked for a company called In Training Running Centre in Brisbane for the last 10 years. And I've been working as the coaching director and the coordinator of their marathon school program. Marathon school is basically a program that aims to get ordinary people to achieve their half marathon and marathon dreams. Most of the people that we deal with are fairly average people. I do have a couple of elite athletes that I've coached as well, but for the most part I deal with ordinary people getting to achieve extraordinary things.
Yes, that's what we want, extraordinary things. All right. So if I was someone who is really interested in running but I'd never run at all, what would be the first couple of things that you would recommend to get me started? Okay.
First of all, I want to really point out the reasons that you begin running won't be the reasons that you keep running. If you're really prepared to persist a little bit through the first difficult few weeks to months, the rewards are many and they're very different than what you're expecting. So that's a little bit of a surprise that might be coming your way.
Right.
But what I would say, first of all, you need to make a firm commitment to do this. So don't say, oh, you're going to run a couple of times a week. Decide when you are going to run and schedule it into your diary. Put it in there so that nothing gets in the way. I would recommend early mornings because really nothing gets in the way of early mornings except for our own
sleep, maybe.
Brains.
Yeah.
I can understand that I'm not naturally a morning person, but I've had to change because when you're raising a family, evenings that's not an option. So early morning, I get up now 4:30 most days to run, and this is from someone who believed they could not run in the morning. So make a firm commitment and schedule it into your diary. The next thing I would do is go to a specialist running store. Now, I've worked for In Training in Brisbane, this is what they do, but they are all over the country. I'm not pushing anybody here. When I say specialist running store, I mean a specialist running store, not necessarily your generic stores that, despite any gimmicks they might have. Go into a store that will let you try the shoes, have a run in the shoes. Often they'll have trained staff who can actually watch you run in the shoes. If they don't, try on a number of different types of shoes and see how you feel running in them. One of the things that I think is a really good identifier is how you sound in the shoes. Try on different shoes, have a run in them if they will allow you to. If you're making a lot of noise in the shoes, that's impact. You don't want impact. You want the shoes that make you softest. Obviously you have to judge other things as well. Hopefully the staff in the store can help you determine what's going to be the right kind of shoe for you. Don't just say, oh, my friend got an Asics or their friend got this style of shoe, because no two feet are the same, and what's right for you, Jan, would be completely wrong for me, and vice versa. So I've even had people come to the store, oh, my physio said I should get an Asics. Well, Asics, I'm just using that as a brand name, could be anything, could be Brooks or Adidas, but that it covers a huge range of type of feet. You could have two extremes. You could have a completely supinating runner or a heavily pronating runner. They cover all those shoes, so that's a meaningless thing. You need to find out what kind of shoe is going to be best for you and get yourself a good pair of shoes, and I think that's probably a really worthwhile thing to do.
Great.
The other things we've said here, getting a friend to join you, nothing better than having somebody that you have to meet, especially when it's 5:30 in the morning. You can't just get on the phone and say, oh, I don't feel like it today. Once you're usually up to make that phone call, you realise you can do it. So, but again, it's important, I think, in those early stages to have a friend who's going to support you, not a friend who's going to compete with you.
Yeah.
You really don't want that. And friends have different purposes in our life, and some are there to support, some are there to challenge, and so choose carefully. So again, set realistic goals. Getting better at running is, somebody said to me, it's like maturing. It's a very, very slow process. It's not necessarily noticeable from one day to the next. It occurs over time, and you will notice in 3 months, oh wow, I can suddenly do that. So there will be ups and downs along the way. Be patient, be realistic, and there will be great rewards ahead.
Okay, so they're really good points. And so it's about setting up a rhythm or a pattern, bringing someone in so they're a bit of a commitment buddy, having realistic targets and expectations, having the right footwear.
Yeah.
Okay, they're great points.
Okay. One more, just to, I would say, when you start running, most people who start running try to run too fast.
Right.
Okay, and they, oh no, and I've had so many people, I'm just not good at endurance. You know, I can do the short run, but I can't do the endurance. It's because they run too fast, and they run too fast when eventually you will be able to run fast for a long way, but you start off that by running slowly, and start really slow. Really, you know, even in the beginning it feels a bit silly. Then you find you can actually go a lot further, and then through running further you'll become more efficient, and you will be able to run faster for those same distances. But it's a slow process.
Okay, great. All right, so what do you think would be a good target for someone over, say, a 6-week period? They've never run before. At the end of 6 weeks, what would you say could be a reasonable goal?
Okay. People are very different in how they respond to training, so I don't really want to make a blanket statement about anybody can run X far. It really depends on your background, on how cooperative your body is, and what your other stresses in your life, your age. If you've done absolutely nothing, to 6 weeks, it's achievable, I think, 5 kilometres.
Right.
But a lot of people will have done other things that will give them some, you know, something to bounce off, if you like. And, you know, for those people, you know, 10K might be 6 weeks to maybe 3 months away.
Okay, good. But it is achievable. It's good to know that is.
Yeah.
And what reasons, like what do you think are the main benefits for people to run? What would you say?
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people, again, with the marathon school, every year we get lots of people sign up. Often the reasons are they want to lose weight. That's a really big one, and I will talk about that in a moment. They want to maybe reduce their cholesterol. They want to increase their general health and well-being. They want more, better percentage body fat. Those are often the reasons that people come. If I were to ask them at the end of the program what they got out of it, there'll be very different things. They'll find actually that running is actually really relaxing. It's a really relaxing part of their life. The friendship and camaraderie that they get out of it is just exceptional. There's something else about your identity that comes into it. You become a runner, and being a runner, sort of part of, like the running, you'll discover there's a whole running community out there of really, really lovely people. Very down-to-earth sort of people, very supportive, and you find yourself part of this world that's really quite special. Running will become part of who you are, and once you achieve that, you're a runner for life somewhere.
Right,
somewhere
okay.
in there. So, but I wanted to do a lot of people join because they get involved in this is because they want to lose weight, and running can be a really, really helpful way of losing weight. But what is often, people see the Kenyans on TV and they're really thin and they run an awful lot, and there's some sort of idea that if you run, you can eat whatever you want and just, it just all disappears. It's really not true. In the beginning, with the small mileage that you're doing, you're probably not going to change your diet at all to accommodate the extra running. It's a piece of the puzzle. Running will help you lose weight if you have a healthy diet and you don't overeat. What a lot of people do, or some people do at least, is that when especially once they start building up for a marathon, when you're doing very long runs, you get hungry and you get a feeling of entitlement. And so, I've run 30k today, I can have this and I can have that. And tragically, you can't. You need to eat a little bit more, but it still needs to be healthy food. It still needs to be relatively low in fat, high. It still needs to be good food. You can get away with a little bit, the occasional slip up, which we all want to be able to have, a glass of wine, a bit of chocolate, but it's not, if you're looking for something to help you with your binging, it's not going to be the solution.
Right, so you can't outrun an unhealthy diet.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's a good point.
And it's sadly, particularly for women, some women, I've had a few men, oh Linda, what can I do? I can't keep the weight on. And think, they're men. That doesn't happen for women. It doesn't happen for all men. It does happen for some. Running does use a lot of calories, and the bigger you are, the more calories that is. So there is some sort of compensation, but I have to say with the women, it helps them have really great bodies if they follow a healthy diet. But but it won't solve all your problems there.
Great. So when you were talking about the community, I noticed that there are quite a number of running clubs. What would be your recommendation around a running club for someone who's never run before? Because I imagine that might be a little bit confronting.
Absolutely, that is really, and so I know that I'll get a lot of phone calls about people interested in coming to their to our groups within training. This is in Brisbane, and everybody, no matter who they are, no matter how fast they are, I don't think I'm going to be fast enough to join your group. Certainly with our group, that just isn't. We have people from, have elite athletes to people who are running, 7-minute kilometres. Almost nobody is too slow for the groups that we have, and if they are, they would fall into our beginners group. But so what you need to do, if you're interested in joining a club, and you'll find that most running clubs will be very, very supportive of what you're trying to do, ring them up and talk to them, and ask, and just tell them exactly where you're at, and ask what they provide. I think for yourself, if you are a competitive person, it's not necessarily going to be the best thing in the beginning, because you need to make this part of your life. You need to make this part of your life in the long term, not in this phase where I'm really heavily motivated and I'm going to get out there and thrash myself every day. That's actually not going to help you in the long term. You need to just set out going to do things that I can do every day. And when I wake up and if I'm feeling a bit off, I'm not going to think, oh, I can't go today, it's too hard. It needs to be something that is actually going to be okay to do. It's going to be hard. It's still hard. All running is hard, even if you're not killing yourself. But if you're feeling that each session is overwhelmingly hard, as soon as you drop off that high, you're not going to go back. And so find somewhere that's going to nurture that, somewhere that's not going to set up, at least in the beginning, a highly competitive vibe. Actually, I've even noticed through talking to some of my really good runners that they find exactly the same. That highly competitive stuff is great while you're running well, but as soon as you're not, it's very anxiety inducing. And I just think this is something we do to enhance the quality of our lives, not something that is there, another anxiety, another thing I should be able to do, another thing I'm not living up to. That's not the purpose of running. The running is to give you power and strength in your life, not anxiety.
That's such a good point, Lynn. So a lot of times we need to connect with our body about how is it actually feeling, because our mind will override a lot of things, and for sometimes that's an advantage about getting yourself out of bed, but usually it's about checking with your body, is this the best thing for my well-being?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, great. Lynn, how do you know if you're running too much, if you're kind of like overdoing it? What are some of the signs?
Okay, that's a common problem, particularly I was saying to you earlier that people who are drawn towards this are often sort of type A personalities who will get really enthusiastic and do too much. There's no real hard and fast rule because people's bodies are different. Okay, some people have fantastic biomechanics and they seem to be able to run a lot. Other people are not so fortunate, and even to identify that is really quite difficult. You see some people who run with dreadful running styles who never get injured, and other people who are apparently perfect who have a lot of trouble. So there's a lot of factors in there, and I can't really identify what they are. But so there's two potential problems here: running too much causing burnout, and running too much causing injury. So burnout or overtraining is easy to pick. Well, you feel bad, you can't sleep, you feel tired all the time. If you're seeing that happen, just drop back a little bit. It's unlikely in the early phase, unless you really, sort of go from doing nothing to half marathon training straight away. So I would say that that's probably unlikely at this end of things. However, if you do find you're feeling like that, good idea to get your iron levels checked, but also just slow down the increase. What we normally do with a training schedule is do 3 weeks of build and then an easy week, and that actually helps with your bone, the way that your bones repair from the breakdown, helping you stopping you from getting bone injury. But it also gives you time to relax and have a week where everything's not focused. It doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you maybe reduce by about a third what you would normally do. So injury, okay. This is the thing that's really difficult. Probably here, even people who've come from a sporting background, once you start to run, running's a very repetitive activity. And so you're getting the stresses over and over in the same point. So even if you have a history of, I returned to running as I had played a lot of touch football, and I still had to be very careful, even though I was very fit. I had to be careful about increasing my running slowly because of that factor that it's a different. It's not what you would get in any other sport. You're getting a lot of strain on your bones and a lot of strain on your soft tissue. So your body will build up stronger.
The mineral deposits and on the bones, right? Yeah.
What is a problem though is if you get it, shin pain, for example, is a really common one in the early stages. That's one to be careful of because that can develop into a full stress fracture. And if you get a stress fracture, you're out for 6 weeks. There's no sort of impact at all on that leg. So you don't want things to get to that. You don't really, but in the beginning, it is natural to get a little bit of pain. And I guess that there's pain's not a good word, discomfort. There'll be a little bit of muscle soreness. There'll be, your bones. You might feel a little bit in your bones, but you do need to be very aware that, you don't want to be injured. Someone who's really influenced me in this respect is a man called Ian King of King Sport International. He has websites and publications available, but I just want to put that in there. I don't want to be presenting his ideas as my own. But he's really influenced me in my approach to this. And basically, we spend a lot of time running, increasing the tension in our muscles. And you'll find after you've been running for a while, if you haven't looked after yourself, and we all try and do this as much as anyway, things get tight. Suddenly you feel, oh gee, there's knots in there. There's a lot of tension in those muscles, and that's not a good thing. Okay, that doesn't help our performance, and it really doesn't help our longevity in the sport. So what I think that what's important to do is to stretch, not just stretch for your 5-minute obligatory stretch out, but really actually take some time each week to have a good long stretching session. 45 minutes maybe spent doing that. You need to work on your calves, your shins, quads, hamstrings, hips and glutes. They're really important. Also a little bit on your upper body. You need to have balance. But obviously when we're running, those are the main ones. So each time you run, good idea to stretch straight away afterwards. Often you don't have the time then to really relax into those stretches and spend a long time. But then at least I'd say once a week, spending a good, it's a really good amount of time stretching, holding those stretches. You don't need to don't stretch to pain. Start very, very gently and then ease into those stretches. And I'm very naturally a tight person, and I have to be very careful. If I stretch too far, I find I actually get a little bit injured. So I've really got to keeping the muscles long without putting them under too much strain at the
Exactly, because then the muscles will want to contract. And I think that's such a good point, is having a dedicated stretching routine in your program. So this is a dedicated stretching, so your mind, your body is really going to be focused on lengthening the muscles, because we don't want tight muscles, we want nice, long, lean muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly with your running performance too, if you want the range of motion, you want to be able to move your legs. I mean, even though it's not that wide, you don't have to be an Olympic gymnast to be a good runner, but you do need to be able to move those legs through that range of motion with ease, not with, I had one point got myself so stiff that was pretty well the range of motion was my run gait, which was really not a good place. And obviously I couldn't run fast. And as soon as I started to work on that, suddenly I was back running, as I'd run a few years younger. And so stretching, absolutely. The other thing is regular massage. You might not be able to afford to have regular massage, that's fine. You can do it yourself. There's commercial products available. There's the ITB rollers that you can spend time rolling on. Personally, I just do it myself. I just sit in front of the television and just get a bit of cream, and we'll just spend time, finding the knots and holding those knots until they release. And I'll do that for a long time, sitting in the car. This one down here, the inner thigh, that's always a good one to be getting. And it's amazing how good your muscles feel and how good they look. You actually do start to get that really nice definition in your legs if the fibres are kept separate. They're able to separate. They're not just this big sort of cement mix of
bulk
muscle.
mass, right? Okay, that's a good point. So in the Indian tradition, they do this thing called abhyanga, and they use sesame oil, and you do a self massage. So you massage your arms, and then you massage your legs, and you do it for like 5 to 7 minutes in the shower, and then you wash it off. So anything that you can do, and I think that's a great idea in the car as well. Yeah. So there are always
anytime you can, and it's something it's easy to do, especially if you're able to complement that regularly with a professional massage. Even if it's every month, and then just maintain yourself. Every little bit will help. Obviously, it'd be lovely if we could all spend as much time looking after our muscles as we do running, but in reality, I found that doesn't really work. I'd like to do that, but I don't.
Right.
What I'd really urge people to do when you're just starting out, and even if you come from an athletic background, in the first 3 months, just run. You don't need to do any speed work. You don't need to do anything more than just go out and run. And what you'll find is that your efficiency will increase. But not only that, even elite runners do this. They have a phase each year in their training where they just run easy. And this is about making adaptations at a cellular and a muscular level. Through doing that, keeping the heart rate relatively low, you get more mitochondria, you get more blood vessels, you get all these things that enable your aerobic system to be as strong as possible. And once you've done that, the gains you're able to make by increasing, doing some speed work, doing some threshold work, are really going to be much greater than if you start doing that too soon. It's called your aerobic base. If you don't have that reasonably developed, there's only so much you can do as a distance runner. There's other ideas in different sports, but in this one, what you're doing is an endurance sport, and even 10 kilometres, marathon, half marathon, they're 99% aerobic system based. So working on the other systems at the moment can actually be detrimental to that. So you want to just be working on that, and after that, then we could pick up on how you progress from there, and how you start to introduce some speed work and some working your aerobic threshold, and that's when you can really start to make the gains. But I really would urge everybody to do that first, and then you'll have a much greater chance of success. And after 3 months, then you want to make it a little bit more interesting, and you will find then you can have a week that each day looks a bit different. You might have speed work, easy run, threshold work, easy run, day off, long run.
Right, okay. So mixing it up a little bit. So it's really important to have build a foundation slowly, gradually, stick to just the running, stretch, and then kick off into other areas.
Yeah, that's right. And even then, each year, it's a good idea to return and have a phase of doing that. And I do even, I've got girls who are, you're placing, at least in winning local races and whatever, and still, we're just about to go into that phase of base building, so that for next year, we've got aspirations to go further, but we need a bigger base to bounce off. This year we bounced off this high, and that was great. Bigger base, we can bounce a little bit higher next year. That's the plan.
Fantastic. That was great information. There's going to be a transcript, and we've also put together a little program for you. So if you want to start introducing running into your life, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to get on board, especially this year. The year of reinvention.
What was it?
Thanks, Lynn.
Pleasure.
Okay, yay, thank you, my darling.
Great.
Okay.
You talk about running all day.
Oh, good. Okay.